Hi, just a real quick introduction to the introduction, only because I'm having a terrible time editing this. Um, and so I just wanted to mention uh, most of this video is basically ruined because Movie Maker is not being very cooperative. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I'm going to go ahead and publish it anyway. Um, and hopefully you'll get some enjoyment out of it. The second pool, just a note about that, I had originally left the time frozen on it, and the idea was to keep a count of the swim bots that were being put in, and unfortunately, the frozen time meant that the graph didn't update the number of swim bots it said on it, so I eventually had to um, go ahead and start the time on it, and it developed some interesting swim bots, and I don't know if they're going to be visible on this or not. So I'm just going to tack this into the front of the video, and on we go. Just a quick introduction for this episode of Kronos Series. I don't have a featured video for this episode. Believe me, there are plenty of videos and other things that I would like to feature, and I do plan on getting to them. Well, many of them. There's too many. But for now, I wanted to sort of make a point. Most of this video is going to be time-lapsed and probably left in silence. No music, no talking, no anything. I might just go and add some annotations or maybe a little narration while it's sped up. We'll see. But this is going to be a long experiment, and the beginning part of the video where the introduction is going to be where I explain what I'm doing is the most important part. You can basically zip to the end if you want and see how it turned out, although I think the results are going to be pretty obvious. This is the gene pool simulation. I'm going to empty the pool out, view the whole pool, and then save it that way. I'll just save it as pool 1. Now I'm going to open 2 more copies of Gene Pool, and into each of them I'm going to load the pool I just saved. So load pool 1, okay. Okay, time is still frozen, just checking. And load pool 1, okay. So all 3 of them now have time frozen, and all 3 of them have their food bits in the exact same location. So I'm giving them all the same start. I'm going to go ahead and resize these windows so they match. Now, just to explain, the little lines in the background that sort of simulate a wave or ripple appearance on the surface is randomized and doesn't really affect the simulation itself. But if you look around this little center area of food bits, you'll see one little food bit down here toward the lower left, and 2 more up here toward the center and the upper right. Now I'm going to show the 3 pools that I have open right now. I actually can see on my screen which is which quite easily, even though the capture area doesn't include that. This is pool 1, this is pool 2, and this is pool 3. And as you can see, all 3 of them have those same 3 food bits just outside of the main area. They're identically saved pools. So, by the way, the numbering 1 through 3 is arbitrary. It's just left, middle, and right on my screen as I pull them up off the taskbar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a timer up that is going to beep every 5 minutes to let me know 5 minutes is up. And then I'm going to come over and pray over the first one and add one Swimbot to each of the second two. The prayer is going to be rather simple, just asking any God out there that wants us to believe it exists and is capable of hearing my prayer to add some diversity of life into that particular running simulation. Now, if there's a God out there that could add life to a lifeless planet, I would think there should just as easily be a God out there who can add life to a simulation. But there's a reason why I want to go ahead and do it this way, because people have a tendency to mix up abiogenesis and evolution, thinking that evolution explains the origin of life as understood by scientists and rationalists and skeptics. But I want to throw a little wrench in the works here, because usually people talk about the origin of life as if it's something that happened once and it's over with, and now we have to guess at how it works because it could never be found. Well, as a matter of fact, someday complex life will probably be completely developed in laboratories. We're not quite there yet. Our technology is actually getting remarkably close to being able to do that already. But at the moment, we're just not quite there. So I'm going to go ahead and unfreeze the time in pool 1 now. So I'm going to make sure I have pool 1 selected, and before I begin the timer, I'm going to go ahead and say a little prayer over this. God, whatever God out there might be able to hear me, if there is a God out there who can hear me, if you'd like us to believe that you exist, if you'd like anybody who may watch this video to believe you exist, please add a diversity of life to this particular simulation, the one I've designated as Pool 1, and somehow make it clear that it was you that did it. I am going to be adding to Pool 2 and Pool 3 myself, and to any God out there who's capable and wants to be believed in, I leave it up to you to add the life into Pool 1. Giving God a little bit of a head start, and start my 5-minute timer. And in Pool 2, I'm going to leave the time frozen, but I'm going to go ahead and add a random Swimbot. And I'll just tell it to zoom in on the most prolific, which is always going to be 0 offspring. I'll go back to the one for God, and I'll tell that to zoom in on the most prolific also, because I want these to be matched. So it says viewing most prolific, and right now it appears to be focusing on food bits. And food bits, by the way, in this program, you can think of as nutrients for the life forms. We as humans are used to thinking of having to eat other living things in order to get by, but plants get by just fine eating dirt, and the food bits in this simulation don't actually evolve. They don't actually grow. They're added in a little bit at a time over time, and basically are kind of like debris coming down a river and eventually ending up in a lake somewhere and adding some nutrients into the lake that float around and can be eaten by worms and fishes and whatever else. In this particular case, the food bits sit still and the Swimbots have to move to the nutrients. The nutrients won't come to them. That's just the way the simulation works. So as you can see, so far, the simulation that God is supposed to be adding life to doesn't look really active. The little wave things are moving, lets you know it's not frozen. The frozen one that I've added the Swimbot to also doesn't appear to be very interesting. The third one, I'm going to go ahead and resume the time also, and add one random Swimbot also to it. So there it is, one random Swimbot, and view most prolific, just like I did in the other ones. And this is zooming in on my random Swimbot, who looks somewhat unimpressive. So every 5 minutes, my timer should go off, and the plan is to simply repeat that, to do a little prayer asking for life in the first one, add a random bit of life to the second one, and add a random bit of life to the third one. Now, consider this. What if random life is still being added to our planet now? Now, I'm not saying that is the case, but would we notice? If there was, say, for example, some random bacteria added to our planet, maybe one just like one we've already got, or maybe one different. I mean, people are still arguing about whether or not Bigfoot exists and whether or not the Loch Ness Monster exists. Would we notice an occasional bacteria being added to our biosphere, say, for example, every 1,000 years? This is kind of what I'm simulating here. I'm going to be adding a Swimbot every 5 minutes over the course of up to 3 hours. I don't know if I'll stop it sooner or not. If I go the full 3 hours, that'll be 36 Swimbots added in, and pool number 2 will be the one that keeps track of how many Swimbots have actually been added, since it's not actually running the simulation. The time is frozen, so the food bits should stay where they were. The number of Swimbots should add one every time I add one, and there shouldn't be any multiplying of Swimbots or dying off of Swimbots going on in that particular simulation. So I'm going to go ahead and check on God's world. Still no life, but that's okay. We can give him time. And of course the control test. Oh, that's my timer going off. So I'm going to go ahead back to pool 1, and God, I pray that you add life to this pool, that you add some Swimbots to this simulation so that we can see that you exist and actually have capabilities. Pretty straightforward prayer. Number 2, deselect the selected Swimbot, add in a random Swimbot, and back to viewing most prolific. Oh, just to be consistent, I should also go back to God's one and again select view most prolific. So I'm doing everything the same except I'm not adding life to this one myself. And pool number 3, deselect the selected Swimbot, add in a random one, and view most prolific. So 5 minutes from now, my timer should go off, and I'll be repeating that process. Okay, I should be able to go ahead and put it into time lapse now, and enjoy the show. God, please add some Swimbots to this pool. We're waiting on your, well, evidence. Hopefully there's some God out there hearing me who doesn't mind being tested. So, please, God, add some swim bots to this pool. Most prolific. Okay. Pool 2. Pool 3. Okay, back to pool 1. And God, please add some swim bots to this pool. And I'll add a swim bot to this pool. And I'll add a random swim bot to this pool. And there we have our first reproduction. God, please bless this pool by adding a swim bot to it. The simulation is left running. It should have plenty of food by now. Let's take a look at the population. Let's see, population. Well, it's showing over 1,000 food bits, so there's plenty for the swim bots to eat. Back to viewing most prolific. And the second pool, I'm going to add a swim bot here. Random. And again, to be consistent, check the population. And the food has not climbed up in this one at all. Most prolific. And third, deselect. Add a random swim bot. Check the population. And the food is climbing up in this one as well, as can be expected. Okay, leave it run. And again, selecting pool 1. God, please bless this pool and add some artificial life forms into it so that they can multiply, and we can see that um, that you're there, that you can do something. And I will go ahead and add. Oh, hold on. Forgot the step of view most prolific. It's redundant in this one because there's nothing there yet. But just in case God hid a Swimbot somewhere, I'd like to find it that way. So, this one, add a random Swimbot and view most prolific. And pool 3, add a random Swimbot and view most prolific. Okay, again, selecting pool 1. God, please add some Swimbots to this pool and bless them and let them multiply. Uh, there are going to be a lot of people who believe in you out there really cheering when they see this pool suddenly become full of diverse life. If you're out there listening and you can pull this one off, and it'll be quite a shock to me. I'd still like to see it though. That'd be cool. So, view most prolific. Is there any life hiding in here? Doesn't appear to be so just yet. Pool 2. Swimbot. Add a random one. And view most prolific. Pool 3. Deselect the selected Swimbot. Add a random one. And looks a lot like the random one that just got added in the other one. And view most prolific. Up. Switching to pool 1. And asking God, please add some Swimbots into this pool so we can watch them grow and see that you added them and I didn't. Or that maybe they came about randomly. There's always room for skeptics, God. If you want to leave some people allowed to be skeptic, you're not going to be taking their free will away if you add Swimbots into this pool. Anybody can repeat this experiment. If they get different results, I'd love to see somebody publish it. So, God, go ahead, add some Swimbots here. We're waiting for you. While I'm waiting anyway. Anybody watching this video, of course, they'll be waiting while they're watching it. Unless, of course, they just really don't expect you're there. In which case, surprise them. Well, before I start doing the editing, I just wanted to come back in and show this. I actually, um, after I added the swimbots back in so that I could save one crossbreed between them, I decided to let it run for a little while and save a few more crossbreeds. So I've actually got 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D. I've renamed them each from Swimbot 4. And if I look at the population menu, you can see there are over 400 Swimbots right now. So the two pools weren't completely incapable of producing something together that could survive. You can see the population is actually going down now due to the food decreasing. They've been eating up all the food. So the food is down to 1,229 food bits, and the swimbots are down to a population of 410. It's kind of jumping up and down a little right now, and it appears it's going to stabilize pretty soon. There's 409. Back to 410. Like I said, pretty much stabilizing. And this, by the way, was the last one that I saved. That's Swimbot 4D. Oh, it finally just switched to a different Swimbot. I was going to wait for a 4E, and it wasn't switching for a really long time, and that's why I finally got curious and checked the population graph to see what was going on, and sure enough, the food had gone way down, and there wasn't much mating going on because they had nothing to eat, or rather, not enough to eat. So thanks for watching my series. I hope you'll like it and subscribe. And check out the description for some Swimbot DNA. And I hope you'll look forward to the next episode of my series. Not exactly sure what I'm going to put into it yet. I've got a lot of different possibilities in mind. We'll find out.